What is up, guys? It is Ethan Ryder with Soccer for Us Kids, U.S Kids. I'm here for the first ever Decatur, Georgia video. I've got new jerseys behind me. I've got a new jersey on. I've got a new flag behind me. I am here ready to give you guys the rundown on transfers for the Premier League. The Premier League starts tomorrow. Tomorrow is the first ever Premier League game of the 2018-2019 season, and I am absolutely stoked. I cannot wait. It is going to be a great game with Manchester United facing off against Leicester City. What a game it's going to be, and I cannot wait. I certainly will be watching it. I hope you guys are watching it. But before running down that game, we are going to talk about the transfers. What a transfer window it's been this summer. Every single summer, there's chaos throughout the soccer world with transfers going left and forth, left, right, transfer here, transfer there, guy going here, guy going there, money going here, money going there. What a transfer window we've had. This one has been just as good as some of the rest, maybe even the best transfer window yet. It definitely is lining up for a great Premier League season. So let's get started talking about this transfer window. Before I get started, I am going to tell you guys that all of these money values that I am telling you are going to be in pounds. Pounds is not the same as US dollars. Because the Premier League is in England, they use pounds in England. So £1 is equivalent to $1.31 in the USA. So just keep that in mind when I tell you these crazy figures that these teams have been paying for players. And just know that every single pound is going to be $1.31. So here we go. I'm going to start with the top 6 teams in the Premier League. This has been a great transfer window for most of them. Let's get started. Liverpool. They had an absolutely great transfer window. The transfer window shut today, August 9th, Friday. It shut down, and Liverpool at the end of it brought in Naby Keita from last year that they had already had agreed. This was a $52 million acquisition for Liverpool. However, they had already had it agreed last summer, but they loaned him back out to Red Bull Leipzig, and he stayed there for a year, and he's come back, and it seems like it's worth the wait. He has been very good in preseason, exactly what Liverpool fans have hoped for. Hopefully, he can be the midfielder that can bring them a title this season. Another player that they bought was Fabinho, which was one of the quickest transfers I have ever seen completed in my life. Every single time I see a transfer, it's always rumors. There are rumors for days before the player is signed, sometimes months before a player is signed. However, Fabinho was, they said that he was going to be a Liverpool player, but before that happened, there was rumored interest from Liverpool, and like an hour later, Fabinho had signed for Liverpool. It is a great time for Liverpool fans when that happens because you don't have to worry about a crazy long transfer saga throughout the transfer window to see if you ever buy the player. It was a quick signing. One signing that didn't happen that fast was Nabil Fekir. There was a very big rumor that he was going to go to Liverpool. He had even done interviews with Liverpool Football Club TV. He had picked his jersey number. Everything was done, but then Liverpool and Lyon ended up having a breakdown in negotiations, and Naby Fekir is still a Lyon player to this day. He is a captain at Lyon, but maybe Liverpool can snatch him up in the January transfer window. We will have to wait and see. Liverpool got a bargain deal with Xherdan Shaqiri only for $13.5 million, which, yes, that's a crazy number, but for soccer terms is a bargain. They got him from relegated club Stoke City, which when players are relegated, they end up being a very low fee. We'll talk about that a little bit later. And the biggest signing, in my opinion, for Liverpool this transfer window is Alisson, a world-class goalkeeper to back up this Liverpool team. This is something they needed for a long time, and it was a glaring need in the Champions League final when Karius made 2 horrible mistakes. However, Karius did get a very good reception coming back to Anfield as the Anfield crowd roared him onto the field when he subbed on for Alisson, who most likely will take over the goalkeeper position. It's not even most likely, he definitely will. He's a world-class goalie that they spent $65 million on which when they bought was the world record fee for a goalkeeper. The outs for Liverpool were Emre Can, who left on a free to Juventus, which left the midfield hole. However, with Naby Keita and Fabinho, it seems they have done their due diligence to make sure that hole has been filled. Another person that left is Danny Ward, who left for $12.5 million, which is a very good return for a player who has only had a few appearances in the Premier League for Liverpool. Liverpool obviously filled that hole with Alisson. On to Manchester United. Manchester United had a very good window for them. They brought in Fred, Diego Dalot, and Lee Grant. Fred was their biggest acquisition for $43 million. £43 million, my bad. And Diego Dalot is a very good young player, and Lee Grant is a good third-choice goalkeeper for them. However, Jose Mourinho has been moaning a lot, and it will be a very interesting time to see how they get off at the start of the Premier League season tomorrow, with them playing Leicester City. A lot of people are thinking that Jose Mourinho could be the first manager sacked, as they've been playing terrible football throughout the preseason, and it'll be interesting to see what happens. They lost Daley Blind to Ajax and a couple other players. Not any huge outs for them. Paul Pogba has been rumored to go to Barcelona. We'll have to see if that ends up happening, and that could be a huge blow for Manchester United. Manchester City, their biggest acquisition was Riyad Mahrez for £60 million from Leicester City, someone that they have been linked to for a while now, and they finally got their man for a huge sum. He is a very good player that could definitely help Manchester City and strengthens an already crazy strong squad for them to maybe even go for every single trophy that they can get this year. We'll have to wait and see. They lost Yaya Toure on a free, which is not a huge deal because they have such good young players coming up. They got Claudio Gomez, a young player from PSG. They got him for free, and they bought a couple other players, and it'll be interesting to see how good Man City can be this year with the same players, with the same squad gelling together in preseason. It'll be interesting to see what happens. Chelsea were one of the reasons that Manchester City only got one player. They ended up getting Jorginho. Jorginho was a steal for Chelsea, as he had, for days, it seemed like he was going to Manchester City. However, he came out and Chelsea got him right after he had seemingly been imminent to go to Manchester City, and they have got a very good player who passes the ball well and is a very good player that can play under their new manager, Mario Sarri. Sarri is a coach that coached Jorginho last year at Napoli, so it'll be interesting to see how they gel along. Chelsea also ended up getting Rob Green, who's a third-choice keeper. They got him on the free, a very good acquisition, who can really come in if they need be as a third-choice keeper. One of their biggest signings this summer was Kepa Arrizabalaga. I don't know if I said that right, but he is a player that, to be honest, I had no idea who he was until Chelsea went out and spent $71 million on him. He is a goalie that they believe is the goalie for the future and for the now. It'll be very, very interesting to see how he does in the Premier League. He's apparently been very good for Atletico Bilbao, and to be honest, I've never seen him, so I'll probably stop talking there. But he did, by them buying him for $71 million, surpass Alisson's $65 million mark. So he is now the most expensive goalkeeper of all time. They also got Mateo Kovacic in a deal that sent Thibaut Courtois the other way. Mateo Kovacic is on loan now at Chelsea from Real Madrid, but the biggest part of this deal is Thibaut Courtois going the other way, which is the reason why they bought Kepa Arrizabalaga. Courtois left for a relatively cheap sum of $35 million, which is about $40 million less than they bought Kepa Arrizabalaga for, which is a very big loss for Chelsea. Courtois is a very good goalkeeper who showed it in the World Cup, and now he's on to Real Madrid, which he loves to play in Madrid as he came from Atletico Madrid. But the fact that they got Kovacic in a loan deal in the same deal is a very good cope for Chelsea, because he's a very good player that can strengthen their midfield, and now they have a very strong midfield of Conte, Jorginho, and Kovacic. That'll be an interesting midfield to see if they can carry that team. However, they don't have very good strikers. We'll have to see what happens. Arsenal ended up having a pretty good transfer window after bringing in a bunch of good players, including a goalie, Bernd Leno, to strengthen up their defense. They brought in a center back in Sokratis Papadopoulos. Look his name up. He's crazy. His name is Sokratis. One of their biggest signings was Lucas Torreira, who played for Uruguay during the World Cup and looks like he could be the midfielder that Arsenal need. They also ended up getting Lichtsteiner on a free, which is a very good veteran presence for the side that they may need throughout the Premier League, as they have very young players in their squad. It'll be interesting to see how Arsenal do this year. West Ham had a crazy transfer window. They continued to buy players for crazy sums, and they kept throwing money out at these players. They ended up getting a bunch of players like Felipe Anderson for around $40 million. They got Issa Diop for $22 million. They ended up getting Yarmolenko from Borussia Dortmund for $17 million. They ended up getting Carlos Sanchez for $4 million. Lucas Perez from Arsenal to get a striker. They got him for $4 million. And they just got a bunch of different people. Jack Wilshere on a free, which is a very good deal for them. They also got Ryan Fredericks on a free from Fulham. They looked like they could be a force to be reckoned with. They did lose Cheku Kuyate, who ended up going to Crystal Palace for $9.5 million, but they did get a lot of midfielders to go into that position that he's going to leave. So they had a very good transfer window. It'll be interesting to see if any of these players really do very well for them, to see if they can stay up in the Premier League and maybe even cement themselves as a good Premier League side. However, another team that's trying to cement themselves as a Premier League side is Fulham, who surpassed the 100 million mark in this transfer window as a up-and-coming team that just got promoted to the Premier League. They're back in the Premier League, and they are not messing around. They surpassed 100 million. They bought Jean-Michel Seri for 25 million. They bought Schürrle on loan. They got Callum Chambers on loan. They got Sergio Rico on loan. They have a bunch of people on loan. Timothy Fosu-Mensah. They bought Mawson from Swansea for 15 million. They bought another dude named Guisa for 30 million, who, to be honest, I don't even know who he is, but they bought him for 30 million. They bought Mitrovic from Newcastle for 22 million, and they were throwing money out, and it looks like they could be a very strong side. To be honest, they actually can have a whole side of transfers. If they wanted to, they could start the season with 11 new players that had never played for Fulham before on the pitch. That is very interesting. They're going to have to gel fast for them to do successful, but there are a lot of very good players in that team. Someone like Jean-Michel Seri from Nice is someone that a lot of top teams were looking for. He was linked to almost all of the top 6 teams in the Premier League. Barcelona wanted him. A bunch of other top-tier teams were looking for him. For Fulham to get him is a very good buy for them. One of the big stories in this transfer window is Tottenham Hotspur. They're the first ever team to not buy a player in the summer transfer window since 2003, which was when the Premier League was born, which was when the Premier League was announced and made a thing. It is a very big deal. They lost some players, but they did sign most of their best players to contracts, like Harry Kane and Christian Eriksen and Dele Alli. They've all been signed to contracts so that they're hopefully going to stay at Tottenham for a long time. They lost Rio Griffiths to Lyon. He was searching for first-team football, as he did score a crazy amount of goals for the U23 teams last year. He scored 33 goals for the U23 team, which is an absolute crazy amount of goals. So for the top 6 teams there, I went a little on with Fulham and West Ham. But for the top 6 teams, Liverpool had a very good transfer window. They are looking for the title. There is nothing with all the money that they've spent. They have to win titles this season. Jurgen Klopp has been getting progressively better throughout the year. Let's see what they can do with their new signings. Manchester United did not have as much of a good signing as Jose Mourinho would want, but he's been paying so much money they had to stop at some point. And so all they bought was Fred, and maybe Diego Dalot, who are the 2 people that could maybe contribute this season, especially Fred, who's a very good midfielder that they are proud to have bought, but they wanted more. Jose Mourinho wanted more, but he didn't quite get more. So they're going to have to do with what they have. Chelsea bought some good players. They bought a goalkeeper who is right now a relatively unknown goalkeeper. However, they did spend the most money ever on a goalkeeper before, so that'll be interesting to see how Chelsea do. They did lose Courtois, but they did get another goalie, so it'll be interesting to see if he does better than Courtois. We have Tottenham Hotspur, who bought absolutely no one, so Tottenham Hotspur fans are probably scared out of their minds right now, but I do think they have a strong squad, so they should still do okay. Arsenal had a good transfer window. They strengthened, but they didn't buy any world-class players necessarily, so it'll be interesting to see how they get along. So going on to some other teams, Everton had a field day on the deadline day. The deadline day can sometimes be absolute chaos, and Everton made it that way this year. They ended up in this transfer window. They bought Richarlison for a crazy £40 million, which is crazy for Richarlison, but I do think he's a very good player, and I think he can definitely help the Everton squad. I do believe they can get a lot of help from Richarlison, and it's interesting to see how Watford really coped with that, and all they really bought was Dale Defoe at the time, and so it'll be interesting to see how much of a hole he leaves and how much it helps Everton from them buying him. They ended up getting Digne from PSG for $18 million, which is a very good buy. He's a very good left back. They ended up getting Mina, who was a Colombian star in the World Cup at center back. They needed a strengthening in the defense, and Mina can definitely bring that. They got Bernard on a free, who's been linked to a lot of top-tier English clubs, including Liverpool and Chelsea and Man United. He's been linked to all of those, so that's a great buy for them. They ended up getting Andre Gomez on a loan from Barcelona. He was very good until he went to Barcelona. He wasn't getting a lot of time, so it'd be interesting to see what he can do with some time. And so they finally did a lot of business. Some people, probably in Everton fans, were a little scared, but they ended up doing a lot of business on deadline day, and they're now looking like a strong team to fight for Europa League. Leicester ended up getting James Maddison, who is a very good player. He's from Norwich and who is in the Championship, and so it'll be interesting to see how he can help them out. They've also bought a couple more players. They ended up getting Kayar Soyuncu, who was also linked to a lot of top-tier clubs. He's a center back from Freiburg in Germany, and he's a Turkish center back, and he's very good, so he can definitely strengthen up the Leicester team. James Maddison is going to have to try and fill some of that hole left by Riyad Mahrez, but they also had Jamie Vardy sign a new contract, so that'll be awesome to see how Leicester City can get on this season with a new contract at Jamie Vardy, a new player in James Maddison. They also got Ricardo Pereira for a right-back position that could have done strengthening with Danny Simpson their best so far. It'll be interesting to see how Leicester gets on and see if they can continue to submit themselves as a norm in the Premier League. Bournemouth ended up paying a crazy amount of money for this guy named Jefferson Lerma, who, to be honest, I didn't know who he was, and it'll be interesting to see how they get on this season, as their coach has been doing a very good job for them, and it'll be interesting to see how they can fight through the Premier League and still continue to be a norm in the Premier League, as they almost got relegated last season. Ben Gibson finally got his Premier League move as he moved to Burnley. Burnley has been doing some very good business this season. They are going into the Europa League for the first time in their club's history, so that'll be interesting to see because they have never been in a European competition, and when you have a European competition, it's hard to compete in both because it is a tiring campaign to play every midweek and then play in the weekend. So Burnley buying these new players definitely will help them. Someone like Ben Gibson. They also picked up a new striker in Vydra from Derby, who scored 21 goals in the Championship last season. They ended up getting Joe Hart on a very cheap $3.5 million, and it'll be interesting to see how they do because they are a very good team defensively. They bought a couple players to help attacking, and it'll be interesting just to see how Burnley progress in the Europa League and see if they can do as well in the Europa League as they do in the Premier League. Brighton are also making moves. They got Bissouma for $15 million, who is and World Cup star Jahu Bosch. I'm not sure I'm saying that word right, but it is for $17 million. And so it'll be interesting to see. They bought a lot of other players that aren't quite huge names, but it'll be interesting to see how Brighton can do, considering this is their second season in the Premier League since getting promoted last year. And they're going to have to fight hard, and they're going to try and become a norm in the Premier League. Let's see, Crystal Palace also snatched up Cheku Kouyaté and Max Meyer on a free. Crystal Palace, those are two very good acquisitions that can make the midfield very strong. They are going to be strong this year as they almost got relegated last year. Let's see if they can try and cement their place too. There's a lot of teams fighting for it this year, a lot of money being spent. Let's see if they spent enough to stay in the Premier League. We have people, Leicester also are doing good business for others. As I said earlier, they did get Soyuncu and James Maddison, but these teams are also doing good. I'm talking about the big transfers, but they're doing good in the small transfers too, that the teams that can't splash as much cash are buying players that could be good in the future, but maybe even now too, and not spending as much money. Another player that moved was Ramadan Sobhi, who moved from Stoke City, who, like Shaqiri, had a very low sum. He ended up moving to Huddersfield, who are also trying to cement their place in the Premier League. And it's interesting to see those people from lower teams. They have a very low transfer fee because when they get relegated, teams don't have enough money because normally you get a lot of money from going to the Premier League. So if you get relegated, you have to sell those kind of players for low fees. So it'll be interesting to see. Jack Butland did stay at Stoke City. If I had to put money on it, he will probably move in the January transfer window for a small sum to one of the better clubs because he is a very good goalkeeper. Newcastle finally got their striker with Rondon. They've needed a striker for a while. Rafa Benitez has been yelling for it, and he really wanted it, and they finally got it in Rondon. Dwight Gale went the other way to West Brom. Rondon is a very good striker, and he is Premier League proven, so that should definitely help Newcastle try to stay up this season. Southampton had a good transfer window as well. They ended up getting El Yunusi to back up for them losing Tadic to Ajax. Tadic was a very good player, and he moved on to Ajax. But they did buy El Yunusi from Basel, and that's a very good signing for them. And they also got Ings. On deadline day, they got him on a loan and an obligation to buy. Danny Ings is a very good player. I've watched him for a couple years with Liverpool. He's been hurt through injuries, but besides that, he's been doing very good. And so I think he's a proven goal scorer. He did very good for Burnley when he was playing for them in the Premier League. He helped them stay up their first season, and that was when Liverpool bought him. And it seems like so long ago, but he definitely is a very good player. He's fast, and he can finish in front of the goal, so that'll definitely help Southampton, who have needed a goal scorer for a long time. Charlie Austin being one of the ones that has helped them, but besides him, there hasn't been very many players besides Graziano Pelle, who ended up moving to China, so Ings can definitely help them in that goal-scoring department. Another big story of this transfer window was the Wolverhampton Wanderers. They had a very good transfer window. They bought tons of players, and they made a lot of moves, a lot of loans, a lot of Portuguese players, with João Moutinho coming over from Monaco. They ended up getting Adama Traore from Middlesbrough, who's a very good player. They got Dendoncker on a loan. They have a lot of players on loan. They got Rui Patricio for free. This team is looking like a very good team that could stay up in the Premier League if all of these players gel in time. So that was a transfer window. I personally believe, and maybe this is a biased opinion, but I think that Liverpool did the best business for where their team is. I think a lot of teams like West Ham, Fulham, Watford, Wolverhampton Wanderers. I think Everton had a very good transfer window. I think Everton had a very good transfer window for where they are. I don't think they were world-class players that they were bringing in. I think they're very good players that will definitely help Everton stay in the Premier League and maybe even fight for Europa League, but I don't think that they're world-class players for the amount of money that they were spending. I think Fulham and Wolverhampton Wanderers and West Ham are buying great players as well, but like I said, they're not really world-class. Apart from maybe Jean-Michel Seri and João Moutinho, they're players that will help them stay in the Premier League, but they won't help them win the Premier League like I think Liverpool's transfers have done. I think they're the best team in the top six, for sure. I think they bought players that fill the exact holes that they needed. They needed a goalie, they got him. They needed a midfield to keep strengthen up and make sure that they had depth in midfield. They got him in Naby Keita and Fabinho. And then they got backup with Xherdan Shaqiri. I mean, it's four players that make Liverpool a deadly squad and a very strong team. So I think Liverpool are the best out, but I think it was a very cool transfer window, and I think it's lining up for a very good season because there are a lot of very good players that are now in the Premier League. Before I go, there's one more thing I want to talk to you guys about. There is a fantasy league. It is a Soccer for Us Kids fantasy league. The deadline is tomorrow before the first game, but you are allowed to join at any time. But you just won't get scores for the first weekend if you sign up later than tomorrow. But I'm going to put you, when you go onto the Fantasy Premier League website, you go on, and all you have to do is you create an account, and then it is a free account, and then you create a team. And then when you have created your team, you go to the Create Join Team tab, as you can see here. And when you click that tab, it's going to ask you what to do. And you want to join a private league. So when you click Join Private League, it's going to ask for a code. This is the code, as you can see here, to enter. So when you go there, click the Join Private League, and then put in this code to the code thing, and then you'll be in Soccer for Us Kids. And I think this will be an awesome thing that you guys can do. I think this really can help you learn new things in soccer. I think this can help you learn about the Premier League. And I really encourage all of you guys to sign up for that Fantasy Premier League. There's no limit to however many people can do it, and it's just for fun. There's no money involved. I hope you all enjoy it, and I really encourage you to do it. And like I said, all you have to do, it's a free account, and you just have to put in that code. So please do join that. I think that's a really fun thing that can help you learn about soccer. And that's it for this video. So what a great transfer window. It's been a great transfer window that's lining up for a good season. And actually, before I go, I will talk about the Manchester United-Leicester City game. It's going to be a great game. I think Man United are going to struggle, and I do think Leicester City is going to come out on top. It's a bold prediction, but I think Man United have been struggling all preseason. They have just so much dark shadows over them with Mourinho whining and complaining all the time. And I think Leicester City, with some of their new signings, I think they're looking like a pretty strong squad. And I think they're going to come out on top against Manchester United tomorrow. So I hope you guys watch that game. I hope you guys sign up for my Fantasy Premier League. And what a transfer window we have had. So thank you guys for watching. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the like button. I'm sorry for this video going a little long, but it was just such a great transfer window. And I hope to see you guys watching next time on SFUSK Kids.